Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about my Lightning Warp Assassin. So we started making this build over on my stream on twitch.tv/Palsteron like 2 days ago or something, and I was always a little bit hesitant to what this is going to actually be, but instead of telling you, I will just show you real quick. So basically there is a certain strategy in the game right now called boss rushing, and without going more into detail, I will make a full guide about it. Basically, what it's all about is rushing to the boss and getting the boss loot. And you're also going to get the free essence while you're on the way to the boss, which is one of the reasons we're going to run Atoll, because it has a lot of essences in the middle, so we're going to easily make it. So basically, just to show you real quick what this build actually is, one of the builds I wanted to make for the strat was the Lightning Warp Assassin. So just to show you how this looks like, basically you jump around, you go to the boss. Now I should have taken the essence, but I'm just going to quickly show you how quick you can be at a boss, right? Then you're here, and now you have a chance to drop some kind of boss loot, right? In this case, we didn't get jack shit, but if you do this over and over, you're going to start dropping Cortexes, you're going to be starting to drop other stuff. But as you see, this build is pretty much on crack. Now, this is without Headhunter. Headhunter actually doesn't make that much of a difference because you're not killing that many rare mobs. So if you're somebody who doesn't want to farm a Headhunter, this is perfect for you, right? Normally, what I would do is I would come here, right? I would activate the essence, then I would pop the essence, and I would move on to the boss, right? I go up. Sometimes you have a chance to get a second one. But yeah, this build is basically on steroids. And if you're thinking this is hard to control, this looks like Flicker Strike. I don't like Flicker Strike. This is actually a lot easier to control than Flicker Strike because you actually know where you're going. You're actually controlling. And even if you have no mobs around you, you can still flicker around, right? But overall, this build has been a ton of fun. So basically, yeah, you do this over and over and you make tons of currencies just from the essences alone. Path of Mav is right now doing kind of like a sort of test on how much certain league mechanics are worth, and he told me so far his predictions are I think 5.5 chaos per essence on average, and we're 100% sustaining these maps. So we're just getting the maps for free. So everything you're seeing here is basically for free. But yeah, just to show you how this looks like. The single target damage is very much carried by Omniscience. Omniscience is just absolutely busted, and it makes builds like this even possible in the first place. Because obviously, GGG didn't want this to be an actual thing, right? GGG wanted this to be they made it very clear with how they balanced it that they wanted this to be just a movement skill and not a damaging skill. Well, here we are, and yeah, this is going to be the build. So Lightning Warp is usually a movement skill, as most of you will already know. Now, turns out it is actually a lot more. The damage on it is actually quite respectable. Now, it's no spark by any means, right? But it doesn't have to be, because what you want to do when you're using the skill is you want to leverage its strengths. And Lightning Warp strength is dealing damage while getting you from point A to point B. So if you think about a normal caster, right? You stand here, you cast spark. Once everything's dead, you move on. You cast again, or arc or whatever you're doing, right? And move. And just go on and go on. With Lightning Warp, that is all happening in one, right? Now, one of the things a lot of people do not know about Lightning Warp is that this actually deals double damage against single targets. And that is because it says here, when a teleport occurs, lightning damage is dealt to the area around you, both where the player was and where they are teleported to. So what happens is, against single target, you're standing there on top of the enemy and you're doing this, and every single cast will hit twice because the destination of where you start and where you end up is the same. Now, the number one question I get on stream is why you're not running less duration, right? How do you reduce your damage? Why don't you go Phantasmal Lightning Warp? Because Phantasmal Lightning Warp gives you less duration, stuff like that, right? Well, the reason is we're already at 0 duration. So if we're looking at POB right here, you can see we're at minus 0.01 duration, which rounds up to 0 duration. Now, how do we do that? Well, all you need is 100% reduced duration. No less duration. It has to say reduced. And you already get, if you have it in here, right, with all the +2 levels, you get up to 56% reduced duration. Then you have the Helm Enchant with 30% for a total of, 86? And then you have another 15 from the Anoint right here, Window of Opportunity. So just to make you understand why reduced is so strong, it's basically additive. So what happens is you have 56, right, reduced, which gets added with the 15 from the Anoint, and then add it with the 30 from the helm enchant for a total of 101, so you're at less than 0 seconds. But let's say that, for example, instead of the helm enchant, I would decide to go less duration. Well, that's a less multiplier that gets not added. It's multiplicative, which is actually in this case bad. Kind of weird. Usually multiplicative stuff is good in PoE, not in this case. So what you would have is, once again, the 56 from Lightning Warp plus 15 from the Anoint, and then you have 71, right? So there's 29% of your duration is left. So now with the rest of those 29%, right, you do 29%, and let's say less duration gives you 50% less. Well, what happens is you have to do 29 times 0.5, so you're still at 14.5 duration. So basically, the reason why I'm not running Phantasmal Lightning Warp, why I'm not running less duration, is because the skill is really easy to get to 0 duration. But moving on, another big piece to the whole puzzle is Impulsas, which got buffed indirectly quite a bit. And that is because you can now get shock proliferation on your glove implicits. Now, the way this works is basically Impulsa explodes enemies nearby, but the thing is it cannot shock itself. So what you have to do is the shock that's applied, you have to prolif that to other enemies, and all of a sudden you have like legacy explodey chest where everything around you basically explodes, which is very, very nice, especially when you're boss rushing. A lot of boss rushers are just running by packs, right? Whereas this build just accidentally pops all the packs up to the boss. Now, obviously, this is nothing new, right? It existed already, the kind of shock prolif, but you did have to use Storm's Gift, Assassin Mid, and if you look at these stats, they're absolutely terrible, right? So you basically sacrifice your whole glove slot to get it, and now it's just an easy to get implicit. You even get a second implicit. You get stats for your Omniscience, you get Spell Suppress, you get life if you have it, right? So it is just a huge upgrade for Impulsa in general. So with Impulsa carrying the clear, we are obviously also scaling quite a bit of AoE, right? We're actually a little bit of power charge stacking. Now, for this build, I didn't go all out, right? I got some okay rings, but I didn't get +1 power charge rings, which are currently sitting at over 100 exalts each. But we basically scaled Omniscience, and Omniscience is another one of these items. We're going to talk all about it in the video, but yeah, this item is just absolutely carrying the single target damage, right? So we have Impulsa and the shock explosion, which is going to carry the clear, and we have Omniscience carrying the single target. Now, when we talk about Impulsa, there's actually another buff here, kind of hidden, because Omniscience is actually one of the small things that actually scales the explosions, right? The penetration actually scales because the explosions from Impulsa are not like Asenath's physical or something. They're actually like elemental. They're lightning. So all the penetration you get from your hits, you also get for the explosion. So, for example, usually it's really hard in a crit build to actually scale the explosions. It's usually just there to, like, I don't know, pop corpses so you don't get corpse exploded on. But in this build, it does a sizable chunk of damage. Usually, like, all the crit nodes don't do anything for the explosion because it cannot crit. But with Omniscience, you get raw damage, raw penetration, which is absolutely huge. Now, we are an Assassin, and Assassin actually has a lot of functionality for this build. Number one, it has a lot of crit. Basically, whenever you jump into a pack, you want to crit. Like, no questions asked. You never want to be in a situation. You always are just gonna warp once and then you're already gone, right? So you always want to get that crit. So the number one thing that we actually changed, we're not going for elusive at all because we don't really need the movement speed. The thing with Lightning Warp is you don't need any movement speed. It doesn't scale your movement, right? It is centered around cast speed. So we're going ambush and assassinate. And this basically just shores up your crit. So you have 100% more critical strike chance against enemies on full life, which whenever you're going to jump into a pack is going to be always, right? So that is exactly what we want. You also get more hits against enemies on low life, which is very nice against bosses where you need a little bit more sustained damage. But you also have critical strikes, have culling strike, which is basically all the time. Whenever we have our assassins mark up against single targets. We're also going for opportunistic, which is just a complete no-brainer, right? Like huge damage multiplier and all. Deadly infusion for a lot of crit. Unstable fusion for a lot of crit also goes very well with the void batteries. One cute thing we're doing is we're running Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh with Weave the Arcane. Now this is a really, really nice ascendancy from Trickster, and the way it works is basically movement skills cost no mana. The mana and the recover mana doesn't matter. We're basically all reserved. We pay no mana for movement skill, which Lightning Warp is. And you also get 20% attack and cast speed if you used a movement skill recently, which our main skill is a movement skill. So basically it gives us no mana cost, 20% cast speed, which is huge quality of life. Now don't be worried though, I learned from my mistakes. After my Winter Orb build blew up like crazy, and the Slayer Forbidden Flame Jewels actually going up into crazy territory, I will provide a solution to the mana without these, right? I will include them in the build guide, but I will have a section where we talk about how you can replace these, because like I said, I don't know what's going to happen to these, right? As of this recording, I bought these for 25 chaos like a few days ago. They're already going up. People are watching my stream and they kind of want to try out the build apparently, or it's flippers. I don't fucking know. I don't know how to circumvent that, but we're going to give you an alternative to buying these jewels. Now, another thing that we're doing is we're using actually 2 12 passive lightning damage jewels. I will have in my full build guide an explanation on how to craft these. Basically, what you want is 3% attack and cast speed with lightning skills and 35% effect. And then you fill it up with some other stuff, right? But just those 2 things alone will get your small node to 16% lightning damage and then 4% attack and cast speed, which will make your lightning warp extremely fast. Now you get this times 10. So that is 4% times 10, that is 40% cast speed, and then another 40 if you have this one filled out, which is completely insane and very hard to get otherwise. You would have to path like here, and then you also have very, very inefficient nodes, right? Crackling speed is good, but you just cannot get here. And then if you're luckier than me and you actually hit more life, right? This is straight up like 4 life per, which doesn't sound like much, that's only 40 life, but if you hit T1, you can get 100 life from 10 of these nodes. As well as that, the Chaos Res feels really, really good. Just from this one roll here, I get 5% Chaos Res on every single one of those for a total of 50%. When it comes to defenses, we're currently rocking kind of like a hybrid setup with a little bit of armor, a little bit of evasion, just to be enough for mapping. 15k armor, 16-ish k evasion, right? Kind of right now, my helmet is not finished. I have a helmet in work with 12% mana reservation efficiency. At that point, we can also include Defiance Banner, which I cannot really get in right now. But honestly, I will probably reduce the cost of this build again, because right now I'm running, I think, a level 4 Enlighten somewhere. Yeah, this one is completely unnecessary. If I downgrade this to level 3, I will still be able to cast my Lightning Warp. Everything else is on life tap. Also, as soon as my other helmet is ready, right now I don't have a spell suppression from the helmet, but as you can see here, we're sitting at 77%. Once my helmet is here, and once I throw like a divine, I think on these gloves, right? Yeah, 1 divine on the gloves to get it to 22. We're at 100% spell suppression as well. Now, Flask, we basically completely automate with Granite and Shade, kind of giving you better survivability. Now, just to be clear, if you want to be a softcore player and you don't care about survivability, you can do a lot more damage in this build. The reason I'm doing it is I'm already like level 98 and we're already 45% in. Normally, boss rushing doesn't give you much XP, but since we're just accidentally killing everything on the way to the boss, right? We're not running by it, we're actually killing it. The XP has been actually quite potent, so I want to maybe get a level 100 with this. So that's basically why I'm going a little bit more tanky. I'm going Jade Flask, I'm going Granite Flask, Defiance Banner as soon as I can. And as for rings, we kind of had to circumvent not having to buy 150x Power Charge rings. So what we did is I snagged this one, which had Arcane Surge on hit, which is very inexpensive this league, actually. Now, usually you would say, well, Arcane Surge you can just get from anywhere, right? But since you're only casting 1 spell, and that spell costs no mana, you don't really want to hit a second button, right? So what you're doing is basically just to get it from the ring. It's always the 10% more damage from the normal Arcane Surge. I also got a little bit of life with it, and I basically just slammed the Deafening Essences of Zeal, which give you cast speed, right? And I just slammed that until I got a good combination, a decent combination of stats for my Omniscience, right? And then for the second one, I snapped this one with, it basically doesn't matter. You either want percentage strength, percentage dex, or percentage intelligence, right? It doesn't matter for Omniscience. And then I also got the spell damage per power charge, which, like I said, we don't have too many part. I think we're sitting at 8 or something. We don't have too many, so it's not crazy, but it's still very nice. Now, as for gem setup, I have a level 21 Lightning Warp. Like I said, the normal one, it gives us 20% cast speed from the quality, which is huge. We have Power Charge on Critical Strike, which gives us not only Power Charge, I mean, we already get Power Charges, we're Assassin, but it gives us 4% more damage per Power Charge. Then we have an Empower 4, in this case. We have Awakened added lightning damage. Now, this one, if you have a +1 chest, like I have here, you don't need it on level 5 because it will upgrade to level 5 automatically. But at level 5, you get the +1 level of supported lightning skill gems, which is very, very nice. And then increased critical damage and a little bit of extra AoE because of the way we're playing the build. We just want to get good clear. Now, as for our auras, there's a lot of normal things here like Determination, Grace, Wrath, but we also have Arctic Armor here, which you might have not seen for a long time. Now, the reason Arctic Armor is good on this build in particular is not just to cannot be frozen, right? I could just craft that on my boots. But the reason is that you get the less fire damage and less physical damage while stationary. Now, the thing with Lightning Warp is you're actually always stationary because while you're doing this, you're not moving your character, you're just porting. But you're always standing still, right? As long as you're not moving or anything, you're always standing still. Now, sometimes you're going to move, right? It doesn't matter. But it doesn't have a cooldown. As soon as you're stationary, you don't take that damage. So if you move a little, as soon as you're still again, you get that damage reduction. And that is a huge buff to your survivability. We're also using a Zealotry setup with Divine Blessing and Life Tap. We're also doing increased duration here, so we don't have to click it that often. I don't click it that often anymore because the damage is actually completely sufficient. But basically what this looks like is we don't have enough reservation for Zealotry, so what you can do is you put it on Life Tap with Divine Blessing. And if you look here, it costs 1,812 life. So what we do whenever we press it is basically we press it and now we pay in life. And the thing is we have a life flask, so whenever you press it, you just combo it with the life flask. It never happened. And what you get is for, I think, 18, 19 seconds or something, you basically get Zealotry for free without having to reserve it, which is pretty nice. Then we also have a Anomalous Assassin's Mark with a Life Tap and Enhance. Enhance is just because the quality gives the enemy more damage taken. Cursed enemies take increased damage, right? Which is a more multiplier. That gets enhanced, right? Normally it's just 4%. With the Enhance, it's 8%. It's just a little bit of extra damage. It doesn't really do that much. And Life Tap, because I don't want to pay any mana. It's also nice because we don't have to reroll no region maps, right? Everything is on Life Tap or costs no mana like our Lightning Warp. Now, for the other one, we have an Enlighten with Anomalous Arctic Armor and Anomalous Defiance Banner. Like I said, I will reduce the Enlightens from 4 to 3 because level 4 Enlightens, I had them for my last build, but it's too expensive right now. So what we're probably going to end up ditching is the Defiance Banner. We're going to keep the Arctic Armor, and we're just going to work with level 3 Enlightens. Maybe just one level 3 Enlighten, we'll see, but I'll definitely reconsider that. And other than that, we just have a Molten Shell here, actually a Val Molten Shell. I don't really ever press it, but the Molten Shell is nice to have on left mouse, right? The way it works is you have your left mouse button here, and then you just move. If you have the left mouse button on, it's actually nice because you automatically move a little bit afterwards, so you have easier time to actually maneuver around. So yeah, Molten Shell is really nice. And we had a setup here. I kind of wanted to do like a neat cast when damage taken portal. So whenever I'm at the boss and I take damage, I already have my portal up and I don't have to go into my inventory. But in the end, what ended up happening is I had random portals during the map whenever I took damage, and I misclicked on it, and it like took me into the loading screen. So it was actually really annoying in the end. So until I'm actually ready for the full build guide, I will think of something to do here, but right now you could maybe level some extra gems or something. But yeah, overall conclusion for this build so far, I absolutely love it. I thought this would be like something a little bit more memey, but it is actually not a meme whatsoever. It is absurdly fun. The single target damage is a lot better than I thought it would be. I thought this would be literally 0 damage without impulse explosions, but it actually ended up being very capable for some of the easier content. Now, I just want to make this clear. This is not a boss killer. This is not going to be an all-rounder. This is going to be a fun mapper, right? That's all it's going to be. That's also why I'm going to tone down the investment to actually make it in that ballpark, right? But other than that, now obviously we're talking about a new kind of strat here. A lot of people are doing this. I don't want to like make it sound like I'm the first to do this, right? There's a lot of people already doing boss rushing, like Sniz, for example, who kind of gave me the inspiration to actually try it in the first place. So already prepare yourself for the build guide. Chances are that whatever that Atlas strategy is going to be, I'm going to talk all about it. This build will be just absolutely outrageous for it, and the faster you are, the more money you're going to make with this. But that's it for the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe. As always, huge shout out to my Twitch subscribers and my Patreons. I couldn't do stuff like this without you. Thank you so much for the support. And yeah, honestly, this build has reignited my interest for the league. It is an absolute blast to play. We'll talk all about it. Like I said, next schedule is going to be either first the farming method or first the build. I'm not 100% sure. Probably first the build and then the farming method. We're currently doing like 20 hours of this, just blasting maps. It's going to be a few thousand maps that we're going to get through. And we're actually going to see how much currency per hour we make. So look out for that. Look out for the full build guide for the Lightning Warper. And yeah, since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.